Since 2007, Chris Gonerman has been successfully publishing his Basic Fantasy RPG, a retro clone fantasy game based on the Tom Mulvey David Cook edition of Dungeons & Dragons. In June of 2023, the 4th edition of the Basic Fantasy RPG was released, now dispensing entirely with the OGL 1.1 in favor of the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 International License. In addition to being a great game and the first retro clone of D&D, Basic Fantasy has another distinction. It's a free to download, and published materials are available at cost for only a few dollars. Is this the best deal in the OSR? What's changed in the new edition? That's what I'll be talking about today, right here on RPG Retro Reviews. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Courageous, and I review old school modules and games and try to give them a fun and informative analysis. This is my last video of 2023. Happy New Year! If you haven't already, now would be a great time to give this video a like and be sure to subscribe so you'll get notifications when I upload new content. And this week, I'm taking a look at Basic Fantasy 4th Edition as well as quite a few of the supplements for the game. As I said in the opening, Basic Fantasy most closely resembles the Tom Mulvey Dave Cook edition of Dungeons & Dragons, but with several interesting modifications. The game has separate races and classes and uses ascending AC, among other things, but its most enduring feature is the game's availability and online presence. At its heart, this is just a free game. Print-on-demand materials are sold at cost, making it eminently affordable. The core rules are now available from Amazon for only $8, and you can get your copy within a day or two. The new 4th edition not only liberated itself from the OGL 1.0 from Wizards of the Coast, but also took the time to add in a few things and expand on others. Thus, this update is about 30 pages longer than the previous edition. A few notable clarifications and changes are as follows. The sleep spell was updated, clarifying that it doesn't affect constructs or undead, that creatures of 5 hit dice or more are unaffected, and only one 4 hit die creature can be affected. A few new monsters were added, some of them original and others added from the Basic Fantasy field guides, and the way magic items were rolled up was redesigned. Otherwise, it's exactly the same game it's always been. Given the basic nature of the game system, it does lend itself easily to homebrewing, which can be a lot of fun. A trip to the Basic Fantasy website reveals a treasure trove of ideas, add-ons, and supplements for the game. For example, while the core system classes are your 4 traditional ones, Fighter, Cleric, Magic User, and Thief, PDFs for other classes such as Assassins, Barbarians, Druids, Necromancers, Rangers, Paladins, and more can be found there, greatly expanding the player options. In addition, other classes can be found elsewhere, such as Drive-Thru RPG and around the web. For the Game Master, there is a downloadable GM screen, and there are the 2 Basic Fantasy field guides, which are basically monster manuals with hordes of new monsters for your game. In addition, there is a massive number of adventures to download, and I'll try to touch on some of those here. The important thing to note is all of these are free to download on Basic Fantasy's website, and the cost to purchase these in print is usually between $5 and $8. Given the low cost of these supplements, this does beg the question, is this the best value in OSR gaming? If you play an OSR game such as Labyrinth Lord, Blue Home, Swords and Wizardry, or Osric, the supplements and additions here are eminently usable in those game systems with nominal modifications, if any. The offerings are vast, and the print-on-demand cost is so inexpensive that you can get a massive collection of modules for the usual cost of just one supplement from other games. With all that choice, however, there does come a little dilemma. What should you get? For that reason, I thought it might be fun and useful to briefly touch on some of Basic Fantasy's best offerings in this regard. First off, if you enjoy a Westmarch style campaign, then definitely check out the Morgansford Adventure Supplement. This module has everything you need to start a brand new Basic Fantasy or OSR campaign. Morgansford is a home base for the heroes to begin their careers as adventurers and a large adventuring area called the Western Lands. There are several large free cities and a massive wilderness area to explore. In addition, there are 3 adventure locales to explore. The Old Island Fortress is a 2-level dungeon, perfect for those fragile first-level characters to initially explore. It is just a short trek from the fortress itself, so the burgeoning heroes can't get into too much trouble, and they can limp back to the fort after their excursion for healing and to resupply. The Nameless Dungeon is a 3-level dungeon, a day's travel north of Morgan's Fort. Here, the party faces off against a variety of adversaries such as goblins and ghouls, but also there are some interesting traps and puzzles along the way where the heroes will ultimately face off against an unexpected evil. In the Caves of the Unknown, the heroes face off against a lair of orcs a few miles north of Morgan's Fort. A series of caravan attacks lead the characters to this final dungeon of the module. In addition, there's some world building as well, as several of the surrounding landmarks, towns, and cities are given a brief write-up, as well as the religious practices of the Western Lands are detailed. All of this as a free PDF or a print-on-demand version from Amazon for just $5.95. Another great campaign and adventure supplement is Fortress Tomb and Tower, the Glane campaign. Here are a series of adventures that were all set in the author's homebrew campaign of Glane, and of course you can easily set them in your own setting. The Valley of Freestead was once in the Fortress of the Iron Duke. The Valley of Freestead was once green and pleasant, and the humans and dwarves who lived there revered their leader, Duke Vadarian. He was betrothed to the beautiful Lady Colleen the Courageous, who arrived in Freestead on the back of a white dragon. On the day before their wedding, an explosion engulfed the palace, and almost overnight the valley fell into ruin. An adventure for character levels 2 to 4. In Tomb of Karzma Megalos, the proud Sarenhai people were ruled long ago by a seemingly immortal hero, Karzma Megalos. He disappeared in the cataclysm, and not long after his people were defeated by armies from the north. No one knew where the hero was buried until now, an adventure for character levels 5 to 8. In the Crooked Rock Tower, the locals all say that the old tower is haunted. Once it was home to the enigmatic genius they called the Wizard of Clocks, but later became home to a cruel wizard named Walgren. The rumors also tell of great treasure beneath the tower on the Crooked Rock. An adventure for character levels 3 to 6. Once again, this is a free download from the Basic Fantasy website or available from Amazon at cost for just $5.10. There's a second supplement of adventures for the Glane campaign called Strongholds and Sorcery. This is a 123-page supplement with additional adventures from the author's campaign. In Castle D'Angelo, Duke Pons III, wizard and member of the Regency Council, was inexplicably absent from an important meeting. Now word has come of a green glow surrounding his castle. Able adventurers are needed to investigate. Are you up to the challenge? Then there's the Tower of Light on a bluff outside a small town. On a bluff outside a small village in the desert of Kel stands a long ruined tower. Brilliant light streams into the sky from the stump of the tower every night, and the villagers warn that those who go into the tower wither and die in mere days. All has been quiet for decades, but now skeletal figures have been seen near the tower. In House of Calderis, a young woman has been kidnapped, and the trail seems to lead to a wizard's tower on the edge of town. Who will dare enter? And in Thermian's tower, the mighty wizard vanished long ago. Eventually, brave adventurers had visited his tower and looted it over and over, yet no one ever discovered what became of the wizard or of his mighty staff of power. It's been years since anyone really explored Thermian's dungeon. Do you dare? In Tales of the Laughing Dragon, there are 3 adventures, all originating from the titular tavern, the Laughing Dragon. The search for the missing gnome, character levels 1 to 2, Fonkin, the beloved gnome sage, is missing. The town guard is busy fighting off brigands and doesn't have time to look for him. A group of aspiring adventurers take on the task and follow a clue that leads them to an old ruin and footsteps leading down some stairs into the darkness below. The Hunt for Valanath, character levels 1 to 2. Fonkin has been found, but an even worse truth is revealed. An important set of items has been stolen from him and must be retrieved at any cost. The adventurers are set back deeper into the ruins to find the thief Valanath and the items she stole. In Rodimus's Keep, character levels 2 to 3, Valanath has been found and one of the items recovered, but the most important one was handed off before the adventurers could stop her. Now it is up to them to find the last item, even when the trail leads to a supposedly haunted keep deep in the forest along Dragon Lake. Then there is the Adventure Anthology series. There are 3 so far, and are a series of small adventures usually playable in a session or 2 by a variety of authors. There are 8 adventures in Anthology 1, 15 adventures in Anthology 2. Anthology 3 has 12 adventures and is a whopping 150 pages. The maps on these are pretty good, and there's everything from wilderness exploration to city adventure. If you're looking for a good sidetrack or a new adventure site for your Westmarch style campaign or what have you, you could probably find inspiration here. Then there is the Basic Fantasy Equipment Emporium. Here you can indulge your desire for a minutia of equipment for your fantasy game, expanded lists and detailed descriptions of armor, shields, and weapons, barding for your horses and other mounts such as griffins or war dogs. There is a massive general equipment list with descriptions, all of which are there to add detail and a bit of realism to your adventures, either in town or while traveling overland. Also common jewelry of the non-magical sort and associated costs, further customizing your character's look. Of course, as with other fantasy RPG supplements, this offers equipment packs, which I really like. Outfit your adventure in minutes with a quick list and cost for supplies specific to your character's profession. Also of use is a detailed list of medieval-style common clothing items from talbots to togas, breeches and doublets, hose and leggings. This provides those that may not be familiar with these styles of comprehensive description of many items from that period and things commonly encountered in fantasy fiction. Great for beginning players, but also can serve as inspiration for players and game masters alike, regardless of their experience. As a game master designing your own towns and trying to decide what sort of businesses might be about, this is really a nice treasure of a supplement that you can use in any fantasy RPG. At only $5, this is a no-brainer. In addition to all of these wonderful titles, there are a few callbacks or inspired by original adventures for basic fantasy, such as the Chaotic Caves. This is a fun callback, but is completely original. You get a great wilderness map, a generic unnamed town map, the town, and of course a nicely detailed cavernous adventure locale that the neophyte heroes can cut their teeth on. One of the larger adventure supplements is at 163 pages is the Saga of the Giants. The maps and illustrations here are pretty good, and if you're looking to revisit a classic adventure style but not replay something you've already done, this might have some appeal. Or if your group is a mix of new players and old, this certainly will provide months of adventuring opportunities. Monkey Isle is another pulp fantasy inspired adventure reminiscent of King Kong. This is a lost world setting inhabited by prehistoric beasts and many other stranger creatures. Designed for hex map exploration, it comes with a blank hex map you can provide to your players. Many hours of adventures can be had with this one. And really, with these, I'm only scratching the surface of what basic fantasy has to offer. There's many more, but the point of all of this is they are available inexpensively and are surprisingly well done, and this is a labor of love by players and game masters who have a deep-seated reverence for the game, and regardless of what OSR rule set you enjoy playing, it's very likely that you can discover something of value here. So if you've not already checked out the Basic Fantasy website, then hopefully I provided you with some motivation to do so. I know a lot of people in the comments tell me that as much as they enjoy my videos, I'm not that great for their pocketbook. Well, hopefully I've made up for that a little bit with this one. Of course, as one might imagine, the production quality on these is at the base level for such things, but I would rate these as good a quality as some of the earlier TSR modules from the 80s, and this is the OSR, so that checks out. So are you a fan of basic fantasy? What is your favorite adventure? Please, let's have some fun discussing our experiences below. And of course, I provided links for everything in the description. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope your holidays were merry and happy New Year. I'd like to take a moment to thank my patrons for their support, without whom this channel would not be possible. Please help me out with a like, comment, and share. Subscribe and click the little bell so you can get notifications when I upload new content. Please check out the Teespring store, Ye Old School Shop, for some fun gaming swag, t-shirts, carry bags, coffee mugs, and more. Consider supporting me on Patreon as well. If you feel inclined to send a tip, you can do so through my PayPal tip jar or Super Thanks right here. A link for everything is in the description. As always, my friends, may your D20 roll true, and game on!